Hey, welcome to the Lifestyle Creation Podcast, designing life on your terms. I'm your host, Jamie Thurber, and I'm an expert operations manager, productivity queen, mindset, business, and lifestyle coach. Basically, getting shit done is my jam. And I believe in the power of intentional living and in real conversations that can shift your perspective, create habits, and ultimately achieve the freedom that you want in every area of your life. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Lifestyle Creation Podcast. This is Jamie. Wherever you are, I hope you're doing super, super well. I was just sitting here this morning. It's actually a Saturday when I'm recording this. And I was sitting here this morning getting ready to tackle yesterday's to-do list, if we're being super honest. I was like, shit, there's like half of it that didn't get done. That needs to get done before Monday. So we're doing it this morning. But something that I've always done in my life, in my career, I guess you could say, since I started my own company, was I'd spend my mornings in my own thought. I learned early on that if I started my morning with reading social media or scrolling social media, looking at what other people had to say, first, that my own thoughts and my own words that would come out of me in my posts and videos and things would be influenced, right? And there's a time and a place where being influenced can be a positive thing and help you see things differently, think about stuff different. But in the first thing in the morning, when I'm wanting my thoughts to be what come out of me to share with you, that is not the ideal situation, right? For me to be fully authentic and of integrity, like I want it to be coming from my head. Now, obviously, with that being said, none of us are reinventing the wheel per se. Like everything that every influencer that you hear, they're bringing and making that, it's all like a compilation of the things that they experience, learn, things they've heard from other people, and so on and so forth. And that's how it's always been. Every coach I've ever had, right? It's the same thing. None of them are manufacturing something brand new that's never been done before, but they're delivering it in a different way, and they're delivering it with their own heart and energy and experiences behind it. And I'm super grateful that very early on I found somebody to follow and to learn from as a coach that taught me the best thing I could do would just be to share whatever the hell is in my head. And she does that still to this day. And if you guys don't know who Kat Latorzo is, well, it's the Katrina Ruth show these days. Look her up. I'll link it below. But she's amazing. Man, whether you're a man or a woman, like, I think that you'll find fire in what she has to say. Anyways, so all of that to say that this morning, I've gotten myself into such the routine where, well, let's say I had gotten a little bit out of the routine, right? But I've been working to get myself back into that routine, and it's like riding a bike, to where in the morning my thoughts are just going, and they're like, oh, you have things to say. Okay, you need to say things. Here we are. So that's where we are right now. And I started to write this down for a post. I probably still will write a bit of a post about it, but I just was like, fuck it. I'm turning the mic on and let's have a conversation. Because, the whole wide world likes to come through with strategy and tasks and marketing plans, and this is what you need to do on Instagram, and this is what you need to do on Facebook, and this is what you need to do on TikTok, and then don't forget about Twitter and LinkedIn because blah, 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 right? So what I don't think people realize is that they wind up making not a lot of progress because they get stuck in this cycle of where all they need to be and what they need to be saying in this strategy. Now, do I think it's a smart business decision to learn strategy and understand the reasoning behind everything you're doing? Abso-fucking-lutely. But do I think that it's more important for you to be putting stuff out there than it is to be worrying about the strategy? Yes. It's more important to be doing the things, because if you get caught up in the task, strategy, wait, where's this going to go? What's the call to action? What's the this, blah, blah. Like, you lose sight of the power of the energy that comes from just saying the words, right? And just showing up and just being yourself, especially in the kind of business that I've built and the kind of influence that I've chosen to make. It is literally a direct result of me choosing to do life different. And that's what I thought of this morning when I was like, 8 years ago, I guess it probably was, I committed fully to doing life different than anything I had known before. And I'm not sure that I fully even have told that story per se, So buckle up. Here we go, friends. So I would say early in my whole life, I've always known and had this like weird in my bones kind of knowing that my life was meant to be different. Like it was meant to be more than I knew. Like I was made for more than that. I could now look back and, and see where that led me to make what other people thought were irrational decisions or, maybe even self-sabotaging decisions. But like it never felt that way to me. It felt like there was something inside of me that said, you need to go do this thing. And I did. Or like, this thing is over and you need to leave. And I would leave, and in like relationships, I should say, in those cases, and it's fun because I don't regret any of that. Even in the space where, there's opportunity for me to have learned and opportunity for me to whatever, I guess I probably could have done shit differently. I don't know. But those experiences were what my soul was craving and needing. And so before I ever even started in the adventure of my life could look different than getting up every morning, going out into a job, working all day, crazy hours, and then coming home or, at the time I was working 4 jobs always. I was always working in promotions. And so the mission or the idea, though, that life was supposed to be different always existed. It was always there. And so I remember very specifically, like you guys might not know any of this, but like I was 20 years old when I started working for a third-party administrator. So they handle insurance claims for self-insured companies. I was 20. I remember that so significantly because I was too young to even sign up for a 401k. I was the youngest person in the office, and I started in their clerical department, and fairly quickly I was an adjuster, and I was one of the youngest adjusters they ever got licensed. And I was able to I had a pretty big client, as that was my client, Waste Management, the trash company, was the client that I worked for, and we handled property damage claims from the Mississippi River to California. So needless to say, a pretty high responsibility. They flew me all over the country to get various licensing so that I could do it. And Waste Management would host a yearly event for all of us and stuff like that. So it was pretty fucking cool, right? 21 years old, doing all of that was very cool. Definitely different than anything I knew was possible. Definitely different than anything I'd seen anyone of my friends and family, people growing up, do with their lives. Like I didn't know that I knew people got paid to like travel, but I never knew that was a thing. Here I am turning in expense reports for steak dinners in Vegas and shit, right? Like, and I wasn't even 21. And the first time I went to Vegas was on a business trip. Anyway, that was me kind of getting this like taste of life being different. And then, flash forward, got the opportunity to run the body shops and work there, and quickly turned that into a really beautiful experience as far as like going from, hey, we need you to be a front office manager, to like the operations manager in the company, getting several locations while I was there, and like all of these things. Lots of growth, lots of craziness. But in those moments, I just knew that life was supposed to be different for me. And I thought at the time, right, like I would have told you I was a lifer there. Like I would have told you that my life was going to be wrapped up in building that business with Kurt, and we were going to take over the frickin' world in that space. And he built me up in that position for sure. And then I started to make a name for myself in that space, and it was cool, right? Like I would have told you that I'd have been there forever. And then of course human nature happened and life happened and things transpired that was no longer the place to be. It was no longer what was in alignment with what I believed or needed, and it wasn't the right thing for him anymore either or whatever. And I started my own company. Well, I should say I'd started my own company out of a desire or a need that he had, really. And before that, while I was still working there, and we started to think outside the box. And that's when I really started to realize like how much power I had to create whatever the fuck it was I wanted. Meaning that business, Posh Promotions, is the name of my company. And it's been the name of my company for 10-ish years now, probably 11 if I really looked it up. I don't remember. And I started by doing event planning and staffing, because I'd worked in promotions for so many years for such big companies that I had a lot of knowledge around event planning and staffing. Plus I ran a huge charity events for the shop every year, where I had gotten to a place where our profits were pretty high at the time, right? Off of each, the profit we were able to give to the foundations were high. So anyways, that's what that company was started for. And that's when I remember sitting on an airplane with Tony. At the time we were just friends, and we were sitting there designing what it would look like. And so basically anytime there was an event and they wanted us to go, I had girls that worked for me that knew everything about our company, that I taught what they needed to know about our company, that would go and represent us at these events. They'd wear our swag, they'd wear our whatever, right? This is what we did. That was brand new, right? Like that was something that I literally just created. Those were girls that I knew from other places that I had used for certain things to help with in the past that needed extra cash, and they were responsible and I could trust them and whatever, right? So that was, again, like, what is this really happening? Like, wow, interesting. What a weird thing. But what a nice way for me to make a little extra money, it to be a tax deduction for my boss's business. Like it was a win-win. And then while I was there, I remember one of the guys that worked there, because I was one of the few women, in the business, and one of the guys that worked there was another manager. When Tony and I finally started actually dating, he made a comment to me. He was like, I'm really glad that you finally realized like that dating Tony or giving him a chance was a good idea. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I said, like, I thought he was kidding. And I'm like, yeah, he's such a nice guy, whatever. Because Tony, like, side note, Tony was our glass vendor. For those of you who don't know, Tony played professional hockey here in St. Louis. His career was ended by an accident where he wasn't able to play anymore. And so then he did a couple different things. He had bars, he had a gym, and now still to this day has a glass company where he does auto glass, like usually though now for big trucks. And he does a lot of fleet management in that case. Well, at the time, he was newer in his business. He was doing our glass at the shop. And I didn't realize that like there was really zero reason for Tony to be at my shop almost every single day, but it was because of me. And he, wanted to take me out, and I thought he was full of shit. So I like played it off and just ignored him basically. And we were friends. We became friends, which was really cool, until finally I was like, oh wow, I actually like this dude. Let's give this a chance, The rest is history, obviously. But I remember James, the guy at work, saying to me, I'm so glad you're giving him a chance. And I was like, why? And he's like, Jamie, you're not like everyone else. And I was like, what? He was like, you're not supposed to date just a regular fucking guy. And I was like, what? I don't understand. He was like, I'm not trying to like blow smoke up your ass. And this is a very married man, very respectful. In no way, shape, or form was he being weird or disrespectful or hitting on me. Like, not at all. Just to give you a little context, that's not what was happening. But to hear someone else that, like him, especially, and he was not a super complimentary, like he was not that kind of a guy, for him to say that, it made me sit back in my chair, and I'll never forget it, because I was like, oh, fuck, someone else sees it but me. Someone else picked that up. And now knowing what I know, I think he was pretty intuitive as a person, and so that's probably where he picked a lot of that up at. He definitely made an impact with that statement, because I realized, oh, you're right. Like a regular, quote unquote, normal dude, it never worked, right? And Tony is far from that. Tony has lived a life that I never knew was possible. I never knew the details of what was possible. And so being with him definitely opened my eyes to a ton of stuff, because just the way he had been raised and the way that he had lived. I mean, he was traveling, playing hockey all over Canada since he was 8, 10 years old, something like that. And then, went into the pros, and then life is different there, right? So anyway, and here in St. Louis, if you're from here, you know that we treat our athletes like royalty. And so, staying here in St. Louis after playing here and all of that stuff, it was a pretty big deal. So he was different, and our life was different than what I had seen in things I had experienced myself, but also what I had observed from other people that I knew. And so it opened my eyes a lot to what I was capable of doing. And so all of this to say, I'm glad you're still following along. All of this to say that when I left the shop, it was not expected. It was not planned. I had no fucking idea what I was going to do. I had no savings account. Like, I had just moved into a new house by myself, like just, another place. And it was way more expensive than I was used to, and whatever. I had to fucking figure it out, right? So I remember going into interviews for management positions and them offering me the position as of the front office. Even though I had all the experience, that's where they wanted me to start. And I know why. It's because I'm a girl and whatever. And it's the automotive industry and they didn't want to take a chance on me, right? So I was like, fuck this. And I started helping a couple local businesses organize their offices and get their paperwork in order, their processes in order. And then I found an online coach, right? And during that time though, I had to figure out a way to keep myself motivated, to keep myself growing mentally, to heal from what had transpired at the shop, because not only did I leave there, but as I left, as I'd mentioned, there's some toxic behavior there. As I left there, I was attacked. They did everything to drag my name through the mud. They did. Publicly, on social media, attacking me, saying horrible things about me. Like, it was pretty shitty. Not my boss directly, but people that were like minions or whatever to him did that, right? And we're talking about a community that I had created and been a part of, a family, all the charity events, all the people. Like, it was just really sucky, right? So I had to learn how to heal from that and to move forward and to not let it affect me and to build what I was building in a way that I didn't have to explain myself to people here. So I built it virtually. And I didn't actually have a client outside of those couple shops that I mentioned that I was helping, which was before I really realized what I could do for people online. I didn't have a client in St. Louis for years or near me for years. They were all over the world. I'd built them through networking online and, learning and meeting with these different women and then working with, a Facebook ad. And that got me, one Facebook ad got me 3 management clients that I'd never heard of before, that never heard of me before, but they took a chance on me. And I was able to help them manage their companies and their teams and their workloads and, all of those things. And then it transitioned to coaching because I was spending so much time with people on the other parts too, their personal lives and all of those things. And the reason I was able to do that is because I had to learn and teach myself all of this stuff so that I would be okay. And so that I could be this person who could fulfill this purpose that I felt so deeply inside of me but I wasn't super sure of still like what that meant. And then I just chose to do life differently. Semi out of necessity, which I think a lot of people who do life differently than like the status quo or the societal norms, like I think that people that do that do sometimes do it out of necessity, whether it's because they feel lost or they feel trapped or they feel whatever, or they have no other choice, right? Some of those cases. And I feel like it was a bit of both for me. It was a survival tactic. It was also like, if I'm going to put this much of myself out there, I need to make sure I'm okay. Like, I'm not going to influence or advise somebody if I'm not okay. I refuse. Like, that didn't feel right to me. So anyway, this morning I was sitting there thinking, I heard an acquaintance, I guess you could call them, was doing an event for the first time. They were having people fly in and to their warehouse, and they were going to teach them, some things about what they've learned and how they've done life. And I just started thinking about my own live event that at this point was many years ago, really. And I was like, damn, I need to do that again. I need some people to fly in. And of course, then the fear voice pops in a little bit. Like, well, who the fuck do you think you are? People, why the fuck? What are you going to teach them? And back to the very beginning where I mentioned this strategy, right? This strategy. What are you going to teach them if they come here? Because no one's going to come here if there's not a clear thing you're going to teach them. And I started thinking, fuck that. You know what I teach people is what I do by example. What I teach people is what I live by example. Am I able to help them in strategy situations and building their own businesses and things like that? Absolutely. I have the knowledge, I have the skill set, I have the education to do that, and I do that. But the reason people come to me and the reason people would fly to fucking St. Louis or wherever I choose to be is because I decided to do life differently. And I've done it successfully for a really long time. I've created multiple 6 figures of money off of my brain, my personality, my integrity, and that's it. I don't have a tangible product in my hand that's making me my incomes. It's me. It's my brain. So I wanted to share this with you because I think it's important to realize a few things. Number one, maybe this is something that you're like, I need to know more about this. I want to know I want to build a life that I just see in my head and that I don't even maybe fully see clearly all the way, but I know that it's possible and I know that I want more out of my life. That's always the answer when people ask me, well, what kind of people do you work with? And I'm like, well, people who are driven, people who want to enjoy their life, but they know that there's more to it than what they have right now. They know that there's more to it than the grind or the daily cycle that they're in, and they want to figure out what that means, and they want to do it in a way that lasts forever. That's my big thing, is sustainability, right? Like, I want to help people create massive growth and massive changes, and I want it to be in a way that's sustainable. I don't want you to get quick overnight success and then freak the fuck out and not know how to maintain it. Like, what I do with people is we create the successes, and we, along the line, we're making this really fucking solid foundation that allows us to build in a way that is unshakable, in a way that no matter what life throws at you, you don't crumble. Here's a great example. A lot of my clients are with me for years. People are like, wow, that's shocking. It's like, it's really not though, because I'm not creating, and that's the other part I just want to say, like, I'm not creating people who are codependent on me, because they're not at all. They keep growing. And because of my continuous growth and because of the approach that I have in coaching, the results they're receiving, I'm able to continue to get them more and more and more results. We keep hitting new levels within their businesses, their lives, their mindsets, their way of existing. Everything just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. So why would they go find a new coach and have to re-explain everything about them, blah, blah, blah? Like, there is a really great benefit to me knowing them so well and me knowing their businesses so well, and the fact that I'm able to remain objective and not get emotionally involved allows me to continue to help them, just like I said, up and up and up and up. And so a lot of my clients have been with me for years. And the cool part about that is that I continue to see their vision. I continue to keep them in place with that and able to expand and grow in these ways, whatever in the fuck it is that looks like for them. And I think it's a really rare situation that that's something that we do. And so in those cases, what's cool is I know when the right time is to drop different pieces for them so that they can keep opening and expanding and getting more and getting more. And as a result, I've watched them increase money in ways that are incredible, right? Increase happiness in ways that are incredible. And I'm super blessed for that. And I'm not even 100% positive why I went down that little rabbit trail for a second there. But I don't remember where that started. But apparently you needed to hear it, because there it is. So, I think it's probably because, like, I think I find that to be a representation of the fact that I continue to live my life in a way that I strive to be different, and I strive to do it my own way. And that's what it is. The people that I work with are driven to do that too. And there's not an abundance of people who are willing, in a really realistic way, to jump on board with you and be like, hey, I've never seen what you're talking about either, but let's fucking get there. How are we going to get there? Let's be real about it. Let's create a strategic foundation along with just living and existing, so where everything molds together. And that's such an important piece of the puzzle. And that's what I do in my every moment of living, you guys. So when I was talking about the strategy taking over and how it can really hinder your ability to show up authentically, it's so true. And so what I wanted to touch on, though, is that there's this magic that can happen the longer that you focus on showing up intentionally while also observing and paying attention. There's the thing that I teach in my group, and I teach this to everybody that I ever work with, but it's the power of reflection, the power of the check-in, right? So the check-in is going back and seeing, here's what worked and what didn't. And we do that periodically, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever works best for you, but doing it periodically allows you to do the check-in of constantly looking at what's working and what's not and tweaking accordingly. And that keeps you in check with what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're showing up. And so if you're doing the observation piece that the check-in brings, along with showing up authentically, You guys, do you see how the strategy part just becomes a piece of who you are? And so you aren't being inauthentic, nor are you focusing on strategy. When I show up this way, people hear me more. When I put a picture with this, read it more. When I do this on this place, this is where everybody comes from. That's not because I'm obsessed over strategies, because I'm a smart businesswoman. I pay attention. One of the things Tony Robbins teaches, one of his top things that he teaches, is about patterns, pattern recognition, pattern utilization, and pattern creation. And if you can't master those things, then you're always going to be walking around trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, and your success will be hindered as a result. And so a huge piece of this is learning pattern recognition, and that's something I've always done. Even when I was working, managing shops. I started managing businesses, you guys, when I was 17 years old was the first time I went into an office and helped it create a system that didn't exist. Taught myself how to use QuickBooks, blah, blah, blah. This was all before college. And when I finally, I got some formal education on those things, but going in and saying what needs to be done and figuring it out, like that all comes in the pattern recognition piece. Like that's a part of it. And I'm, blessed to have been given that knowledge early on, but it's because I've always been observant. It's part of who I am. I'm able to see a situation and understand why each person is behaving the way that they are. And as a result, I'm able to help without it being very objective or not influenced by what each person is doing. I'm able to help people communicate better. I always have, long before I ever knew the powers of that I know now. Like I was doing that shit when I was like 15, So anyway, as like a teenager, I remember understanding those things. So kind of think, I'm just rambling at this point, maybe, potentially. I don't think so. I think the whole point is it's like, I want more people who resonate with anything I just fucking said in this entire podcast to come together in my space. And the reason is because I do what I do because I want to help you. And I don't mean that in a way it's like, I need you to give me all of your money. That's not it at all. If you pay attention, I have to tell you about my programs because I am running a business, but it's like, bro, it's not even about that. Like whomever, like here's my beck and call or like my siren call. Hello, wherever you are, if you know that your life is supposed to be different, like let's connect. Let's be in each other's lives, even that's just a follow or a friend request, right? Like the truth of the matter is that Facebook's where it's at on my shit. I'm everywhere. I'm on all the places, but Facebook is really like, Facebook and my newsletter are really like the places that you get all the shit from me regularly, daily, especially on Facebook. The Instagram stories, we do that too, but every single day I do that too. But anyway, like we have some beautiful things coming out. I live on this beautiful piece of property now that I just see an event here. I just see it. People sitting around my pool. It's funny, two people like, "We're gonna hire someone to come in and like set up the tents." I'm like, no, my boyfriend's like a very extravagant human. He really is. He's a little flamboyant. He's very extravagant. He's very eclectic. And so we have everything, like literally my backyard looks like a nightclub sometimes, like I'm hosting events simply because Tony feels like setting everything up that day. Like it just depends. So in those moments, that's definitely a thing. Anyway, there's the opportunity, and it's more of like, let's all get together and put our collective powers and walk away with plans and strategy and ways to do shit. It's the other thing. So like, I just want you to keep me in your sights, because I just feel like I said this morning, I had to record this and tell this story because there's people that are like, fuck yeah, that's what I want. I want to do life this way and continue to do life this way. Or maybe you feel like you're trying and it feels crunchy and like it's not working, or you feel alone. Like that is the point of this, because I felt alone. I still feel alone a lot. I really do. And so like, I'm so grateful that I found Tony, because he really is a rare human to be able to support me and understand me and what I'm doing. And even in some ways he truly can't, because his head is like a very different place. That's a different conversation for a different day. Like that dude doesn't doubt anything about himself ever. Like, doesn't happen. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you and let you know, like, let's connect. like I said, shoot me a friend request. I'm Jamie Thurber on Facebook. If you want the business profile, it's jamiethurber.biz. And then on the Instagram, I'm jamie.thurber. So Jamiet as in Tom, HURB as in boy, ER. That's how you spell my name. Or you can just go to my website, and the links are on my website, which is jamiethurber.com. We're on the TikTok also, same handle as Instagram. I do have a LinkedIn that we post stuff to, but I'm not active there really, just because it's not really my jam. But shoot me a message. Let's connect for real. Just be friends, because that's what I'd really think is the powerful piece there. And if I have things to offer that feel right to you, then there's that too. There's always opportunity. But that's really kind of what I was feeling on my heart to share with you right now and today. I do want to share with you real quick that I was on the massage table the other day, and I do a lot of manifestation work while I'm in trance kind of on the massage table. And I had a vision of this workshop that I'm going to do. It's not in person, it's a live virtual workshop, but there's going to be 3 sections. There's going to be opportunity for 4 live times together. There's going to be some hot seat coaching. It's not an overwhelming program. It's going to be fairly simple, but the point is it's very imperative for this time of year. It's very imperative for right now, when everything's starting to stir inside of people and New Year's resolutions are probably falling off. This isn't about resolutions. This is about creating space, finding clarity, doing that reflection and check-in. I'm going to walk you through that, just like you would if you're going to plant a garden, is that you want to take some inventory of what the fuck is going on in your yard. Where's the sun? What kind of soil do I have? What do I want to grow? What's possible to grow in my climate? Like that kind of work, and then clearing space. And we do like a whole release ceremony work thing together in part 1. Then part 2 is getting really clear, understanding what it is that makes you who you are, who you want to be, how you want to show up, and then what it is that you're wanting to create this year or this whatever time period, whatever it is that you're wanting. So that can be looked at goals or whatever, however you want to refer to it is fine. But the powerful part of how I teach this now specifically and over the last couple of years is that we put purpose behind each one so that it's anchored into you. It's connected in, like there's a root system of what these desires are inside of you, to where then all of your behavior and all of your actions and energy is feeding this stuff that you want. So that's part 2. And then in part 3, we're going to write, maps, get you a map of what you need to be doing daily, weekly, monthly to stay on task with that and to really have it be sustainable and fit into what you need. And I'm going to have a workshop day aside from the live trainings where everybody can show up and literally go through their stuff with me personally, one-on-one. Like it allows you opportunity for us to like literally mastermind together in a different way even. So it's going to be really cool. I'm excited. The whole point of it is for it to be simple, or shall I say like easy to do and digest, so that you can now, it can be embodied in who you are and in what you believe and what you're doing in every movement for the rest of the year or however long, right? So that's the beauty. The whole idea is, right, you don't want to just throw seeds in a bucket right now and then at the end of the year be like, I don't even know what any of this is that I'm harvesting or what grew, and maybe nothing fucking grew, right? But you were doing all of this work and exerting all of this energy between planting the seeds and the end of the year, like the harvest time. You've been doing all of this energy and you have nothing to show for it. Like, I don't want that for you. So I've created this workshop for that. I don't know exactly when we're going to be starting, but fairly soon. So I'm going to just, again, connect with me. We're going to get that rolling. I am offering, though, right now, a Venmo special. Basically, if you Venmo me your tuition now or within the next couple of days of you getting this released, then you just need to put your email address in the actual payment thing. So you put the money over in here, you need to write something with it, put your email address there. And as a result, then it'll secure you a spot, and it'll secure you a personalized package that I'm going to send you in the mail, which is just fun and special, and it'll give you some cool tools that you can utilize to keep you on track for the year, or for your goals and your tracking and your mindset and all that stuff. So super exciting. If you're like, fuck yeah, I'm in. Like I said, it's going to be very doable. You're not going to need to crunch out a ton of time. So that was kind of the goal. I don't want you to have to make a ton of space to Like, I don't need you to give hours and hours and hours and hours towards the coursework, right? Like, that's not the point. I want to get through this with you. So if you're interested, it's $217. You can Venmo me. I'm at Jamie Thurber on Venmo. You can see my little face on there. And if you have any questions, always email us, let me know. But I'd love to have you in that space. Like, that thing was literally birthed out of me, that workshop. So I know that it was birthed for a reason, and people like you are ready for that. So let's do it. If you need to make payments, that's something we can talk about. So shoot me a message if you're like, I want to put money down on tuition and whatever. Just shoot me a message and we can talk about it. And if you're on my socials, keep your eyes peeled because I'll be giving you dates and things like that as well on when it will be starting, but it will be fairly soon. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being here. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, share it with someone. If you haven't left us a review on iTunes, please do so. That's a way we get good rankings. It's something that I can't pay for. And again, this is something that's funded just by me in order to put some good out into the world. My team that I pay help me produce it and put it out there. So we appreciate the support and sharing and telling people about it and leaving the reviews. And I hope to hear from you soon. I hope to get a little friend request from you on Facebook and a message maybe saying, hey, I listened to your podcast. Like, I'd love to connect, whatever it may be. And if you're interested in the seed growth workshop, that is something that I highly suggest you take advantage of because it's going to be really powerful. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.